Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest joining us, Julia Golden. How's it going today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing really well. It's been a good morning. For me, I know you've kind of gone through the ringer a little bit this morning, but
Little
I'm
bit of
glad to have you here.
chaos. Little bit of chaos. Can never
Yeah,
rely on a car battery, I'll tell you that.
right. Yeah, I'm waiting for that one to happen to me. It's like my car's kind of getting to that point where it's like I know there's going to be a car battery need in there at some point in the next year or so.
Oh yeah.
But
It's fun for sure.
right. So outside of all the chaos this morning, how's everything else been going?
It's been going good. We've been super busy, but all good things. We had a late show last night, and so that one was a lot of fun, and we're just doing music all the time.
Nice, nice. And are you're in North Carolina right now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're in like
Eh,
the Pinehurst area.
Cool, cool. And is that kind of where you're playing, or are you getting out a lot more on the East Coast?
I'm a little bit of everywhere. We're trying to expand our kind of reach a lot more over the next year. I'm primarily based in North Carolina, but I'm all over North Carolina. We'll travel 3.5 hours away from my house for a show if need be. We're getting more into the Charlotte area and all that. And I'm in Nashville all the time as well. So that's like my other home base. I kind of split time between both.
Nice.
And yeah, we're booking a lot of shows for next year in like Jersey, Florida, South Carolina, Georgia. Trying to expand and go everywhere we possibly can.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's the one cool thing about the East Coast in general is if you're willing to drive anywhere from 3 to 5 hours, you could be pretty
Anywhere,
much anywhere, you know?
anywhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's super amazing.
'Cause
Very
if you
exciting.
wanted to go to New York, how long does it take you to get up to like New York? Is that a little bit longer of a drive or?
It's quite the drive. It's more the traffic that
Mhm.
makes it problematic than the actual distance. But for New York, for us, I think it would be depending on what part of New York, 11 or 12. Like if we were going to
Okay.
the city, it'd be 11 or 12.
Okay. So yeah, that's kind of the window. Okay. I was sitting there and as soon as I asked it, I was like, oh nope, New York's like way further
We're
north.
pretty
So
far north. Yeah, that's pretty far north. But I lived in Michigan for a year, and that was 16 hours. And so
okay.
after making that trip back and forth a million times with my parents, any drive for us is easy peasy.
Oh yeah.
It's no problem for us.
That's the harsh lesson that I learned. I lived out in New Mexico for 4 years,
Oh
and it took 3 hours just to get anywhere. Like if you wanted to go to like if you had to go to like a specialist or anything other
wow.
than like a cough doc or like a regular general practitioner, you were driving 3 hours to either Las Cruces or up to Albuquerque, and it was like, yeah, okay, 3 hours. That's kind of like my gold standard now
Get
for a
used to
quick
it.
trip. Yeah. So growing up in North Carolina, what was the music scene like growing up? What was the like? How does music kind of start coming into play?
Absolutely. So I am very blessed to grow up in a community where arts are very prevalent. They've always been, I've never been, opportunities to participate in creative arts it's never been scarce for me, which is such a blessing. And my parents were always very supportive of whatever I decided to put my mind to, which I was all over the place as a kid, so that changed constantly. But we've got a really, really amazing live music scene. I actually got my start in, musical theater.
Mm.
And I did that for about 13 years up until my junior year of high school. And then I decided I like put my entire life into it. I went to this boarding school in Michigan. That's when I lived in Michigan for musical theater. And then I come home for the summer after my junior year and I talked to my parents and I'm like, I think I want to go to Nashville and write songs instead. And they were like, all right, we'll figure it out. And so I kind of switched.
Mm.
I've always kind of written songs and I've always loved music and country music specifically. But I kind of changed gears a little bit within the past couple of years. And it's been a wild, insane journey, but it has been the biggest blessing of my life. And I'm so glad that I made that choice every day. But it's been pretty crazy.
Nice, nice. And whereabouts in Michigan did you go to school?
I was way up north. I went to Interlochen Arts Academy,
Okay.
which is it's probably the greatest thing I've ever done. I'm so grateful every day that I went. It just wasn't the best fit for me after that first year. But I was in the Traverse City area,
Okay. I was
around
just
like Green Lake. Yes,
Yeah, I
sir.
was just about it that when you said far north, I was like, oh, she must have been up. If she was Traverse City, that's pretty far north, but there I
It's
know
pretty
there's like the UP and all that
Upper
stuff up there.
Peninsula, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it goes way far north, but
yeah.
it was cold, I'll say that.
Oh, oh yeah. I've had a couple of opportunities to move to Traverse City, and I was just like, I'm from Chicago, so I'm used to the cold, but it doesn't mean I like the cold. And so going to that far north in Michigan just sounds like a nightmare.
It was crazy. And I'm obviously from the South, and so
Hmm.
I'm growing up in 105-degree summers, 40-degree winters on a bad day.
Hmm.
And so now it went from that to inches of snow and the lakes freezing over and not seeing the sun for months. It was a lot. I can't lie, the weather was a pretty big factor in
Hmm.
me deciding not to go back because it was just crazy. I love Traverse City. It's a gorgeous area,
Hmm.
beautiful community out there. And I, of course, loved my school, but northern Michigan is a different kind of
Oh,
cold.
oh yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh, it really is. It's yeah. Oh, so then you came back from Traverse City and you went, I'm assuming you went back to North Carolina, but did you move to Nashville for a little bit or was it always just kind of commuting back and forth?
We've always kind of commuted back and forth. Whenever I left, I still obviously had to graduate high school. So I finished my senior year online and I graduated in January of this year. And starting in August or September of last year, we've been going to Nashville about every 6 weeks,
Hmm.
spending a week there, doing as much as we can with co-writes, meeting people, doing all kinds of things. And so my mom was wandering around the back. But just spending a lot of time in Nashville, meeting everybody we can, learning all that we can. We've been doing that pretty consistently. We're starting now. I'm hoping to move to Nashville within the next bit. And
Hmm.
so I'm hoping to start going every 3 weeks rather than every week.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's cool. It's Nashville is a different animal. We'll put it that way. Like I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but I think one lesson I've learned over the last few years is you can either handle living in Nashville or
Yes.
you're better off commuting. Like
Yes.
so, it
Absolutely. If I were to have moved to Nashville fresh out of like coming off Interlaken,
yeah,
I would not have lasted long.
probably.
I would not have lasted long. I'm very glad that we did it. It's obviously to each their own, and everyone's journey
Mm,
is different, but I'm very glad that we ended up doing it the way that we did. One, because Nashville is a very expensive city to
yeah.
live in.
Oh yeah.
And two, it just kind of allowed us to get a little bit of the lay of the land and understand what we were getting ourselves into
Fair.
before we made the full commitment of being there full time.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. So coming out of the boarding school, moving back home, is that kind of when you made the when you decided that's when you decided to make the transition from more performance arts and music or music theater to like performing your own original content?
Yes, I had always written songs and I'd done a couple of cover gigs just here and there as like my job when I was younger. I started doing cover gigs in like
Mm,
bars and restaurants here when I was 15, if I remember correctly. And so I had kind of been a part of this scene for a little while. But I made the official choice that that was what I wanted to do. And I kind of dedicated. Musical theater is very time consuming, but
yeah.
so is being a performer, if you want to do it as a sustainable career. And so I kind of had to decide whether it got to the point where I was going to decide, am I going to be a professional songwriter or am I
Mm,
going to go to musical theater? And that was when that choice was made. Though I still love musical theater and I hope one day I'm able to do it again because
yeah.
I still have so much passion for it.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's it but I completely understand like the time commitment to musical theater is like I just remember having some friends that did like school plays and musical theater and stuff like that, and it was like, oh, they're obviously in season right now because I haven't seen them in 3 months, you know?
It is quite the commitment. And
Yeah.
it is the wildest industry. And
Mm,
I love musical theater. But it was kind of at the point, it's a very cutthroat industry, especially
mhm.
for women, because it's so saturated with women, versus a lot of male people. And so, um, I was going to the college audition process and I just saw this like daunting audition process
Yeah.
of like 6 months of auditioning and interviewing and doing all these things. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And
Fair.
I went to Nashville once and I got to sing some of my original music and I was like, I have to do this. Like this is what I'm gonna do. And
Nice.
um it kind of the decision kind of made itself.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Speaking of your original music, how's all that been going? Like, obviously, you're still kind of finding your feet as a recording artist and whatnot, but how's the kind of whole process been writing your own music, and how's all that been going for you?
Yeah, it's songwriting is no doubt my favorite part of what
Hmm.
is part of this process. There's so many aspects with performing and the networking, social media, beat like recording, and songwriting is the reason why I love it so much. And um, I've it's really interesting because I've been through like five different genres as a songwriter. Like for a while, I was writing super pop music, and then I've explored all kinds of different things, and I eventually kind of realized that all of the pop songs I'd written were just country songs without an accent or country songs in disguise. And so I ended up realizing I was like, country music is where I need to be. And finding that kind of niche for myself was very, very important in my process of kind of developing where I am today. And I've got one single out, which we talked about a little earlier. I wrote that song at boarding school when I was 16, and I was just so proud of it. And I think it was the first song that I wrote that I was really, really proud of, and that I felt
Hmm.
very, very confident in, and that I really wanted to share. And so that came out, and being in Nashville has been so, so rewarding. I've learned so much as a songwriter and as a performer, and I've gotten the opportunity to witness legends in action. And that to me is just unequivocal to anything else. It doesn't being able to watch these people that have made such successful careers off of doing the thing that I love the most is so insane. And I think I've improved a lot as a songwriter. I'm still trying to find, I'm so young and I'm so new to the game. And I'm very, very aware of that. And so I'm trying my best at this moment to just write as many songs as I can and really find my voice as a songwriter.
Nice. I think that's an important thing to kind of touch on because there's like the one interesting or the interesting thing about musicians nowadays is that they come up with such a broad like influence of music because of how their parents brought them up like now or because I remember like my dad telling me, oh, we were just a jazz family, like my dad listened to jazz, my mom listened to jazz, so I listen, kind of stories like that. And nowadays it's kind of like, oh, well, my dad has a new metal phase, he went through a hip hop, and
Yeah.
just kind of like all these
Music is
different.
so much more accessible now. You
Yeah,
can download all these into your Apple library and you don't have to go out and buy the physical record.
yeah.
It's so much easier to consume all kinds of different things.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it makes for a more interesting outcome with new musicians that are coming up that were raised by parents that had a wide variety of musical interests. And so it's kind of like you were saying, is you were trying all these different genres, but at the end of the day, you realize, oh, these are all country songs. They've just got a pop twist or a hip, just like kind of whatever it
Absolutely.
is. So that's really
Absolutely.
cool that you've kind of realized that this early in the game.
Absolutely. It was one thing that I would say is probably one of the biggest blessings that I've had as a songwriter was both of my parents actually worked in radio growing up. They were
Oh,
both
well,
my mom was a morning show host. My dad also did a lot of he had a lot of on-air shows. And he worked in marketing and development and things like that. And so I grew up around all kinds of music, and I grew up around all of the hits. They worked at kind
mm,
of a hits and oldies station, and so I was getting to hear all of the very best songs of all generations, of all genres. And I think that is one of the biggest influences that I've had on my songwriting and why my songwriting can kind of move between genres. And my goal is to kind of blend all of those genres, and I'm still trying to find that sound.
yeah.
But that was something that I experienced that not a lot of people got to was just being immersed in that all the time growing up. I'm
Nice.
very grateful for that.
Yeah. So going through that who have you or who are you like listening to currently? Like who's on your Spotify playlist that you find really creatively interesting?
I have so many people. Like I spend so much time of my day like looking through social media and Apple Music and trying to find new music to consume. My mom and my dad's favorites were always like 70s classic rock growing
Hmm.
up. So Billy Joel is like my number one of all
Hmm.
time songwriter. I love him so much. I
Yeah.
could literally talk about Billy Joel for hours.
Yeah.
I want to do a whole podcast interview just talking about that man. But him and Stevie Nicks was a huge inspiration for me. And those two are kind of my base where it's like, no matter who I'm listening to, they're always on my playlist.
Hmm.
And Fleetwood Mac in that same
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
thing. Recently, I've been really into Megan Maroney. I think that she is
Nice.
just so lovely. I think she's such an inspiration. And as an independent songwriter who's kind of working from the bottom up, her journey as a songwriter is really interesting. How she's
Yeah.
very self-made, and I admire her a lot for that. And she really did things her own way. So I find I admired her a lot. I'm very
Yeah.
inspired by her. Tyler Childers, of course,
Yeah.
is just a legend in the making. His songwriting is absolutely unmatched. Um, I'm a big Zach Bryan fan. I saw him
Mm.
in concert recently. All the names you're hearing.
Yeah.
Sierra Farrell is a new discovery of mine that I've
Guys. Yeah.
really been into. She is just a star. Like she is
Hmm.
unlike anyone else. She's like this fairy sent down from the sky to bless us all with her musical gifts. It's
Yep.
insanity. And I would also say Zach Top.
Oh,
He's taking the country world by storm, and
oh yeah.
I love that man. He will write a damn good song. So I've been a very much I'm all over the genres, but I'm
Yeah.
in a pretty solid country phase right now.
For sure. It's so funny. I've heard so many people bring up Zach Top, and I just remember seeing him on Instagram 4 or 5 years ago, and he was just another guy doing his
Regular
thing,
dude?
and it was just like now I hear all these people talking about him. I was like, I should have reached out to him when he had 4,000 followers on Instagram and been
Yeah.
like, hey, let's do something, you know. But
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you can't call every shot, so it's like you
You
just
never
kind of
know.
move forward. So
You never know. And
right.
a lot of people like it takes that kind of seasoning where like he's always had this talent, but now he's
Hmm.
got all this experience to back him up. And that's kind of like the goal that I'm having as a songwriter is where it's like I need to have all of this experience to make sure that I can be prepared if the
Hmm.
opportunity ever arises where I'd get like a viral song like Zach Top had.
Yeah.
He's just amazing. He's like a full triple threat as a instrumentalist, singer, songwriter, and performer. He's got
Yeah.
four. He's insane.
Oh yeah, for sure. So where are you at kind of right now creatively? I know you got a bunch of like demos up on your website and you're playing consistently. So
Absolutely.
is live shows kind of more your focus, or are you kind of trying to balance both?
I am doing my best to balance both. We have a huge volume of live shows. Like we're doing
Mm.
so many live shows. I've done over 100 this year
Oh
alone,
well.
which is obviously so much fun and the coolest thing ever to get to say that I've done that at 18 years old. I've done 100 live shows in a year, but I it's a lot of work. Like
Hmm.
it's a lot of work and it's a lot of traveling. And so when you're doing live shows, where it's very draining for many reasons. And so it kind of, we found in this year's been a lot of lessons for us. And we've kind of found that it's not good for the creative process to do that much live shows because you don't have any brain power to write
Hmm.
songs. And so I've gotten into the studio. My schedule's cleared up a lot in the fall months. And so, or as we're getting into the fall months. And so I got in the studio last month in Nashville and I recorded a couple of singles that I'm
Yes.
really excited about. My friend Garrett Huffman and I recently recorded a duet that we've been working on, and that's coming out very soon, which I'm super
Nice.
excited about. And yeah, I'm trying to write. The goal is to eventually release an EP or like a
Hmm.
larger scale project. But I'm still trying to find my sound and really create things that I'm proud of. And so I'm really taking my time with that. And with the amount of live shows where we've been able to build such a great community and audience just within my home state
Yeah.
and neighboring hometowns. And we're kind of building things from the ground up.
Yep. And honestly, that's the best way to do it because obviously a lot of people jump into music and they want to shoot for the stars right away. And I've always been a firm believer you got to start from home. Like you got to
Absolutely.
build from home and then move outwards. It's like, and I think you like really understand that thought process. And it's like, because when you build a solid fan base at home, when people come in, like, oh, hey, check out this new art, and
Absolutely.
just kind of like build it gradually. And so that's been really cool to kind of we've been talking for what was it, last week or two, last
Yeah.
couple of weeks. And so just kind of seeing how you are on social media and just kind of, watching that all unfold has been really cool. So,
So much.
yeah. Oh, so you said your shows are starting to wind down for the like fall winter season. How many shows do you have left this year? Or is your shows like permanently booked out, or are you kind of still taking bookings as they come available?
Here and there.
Okay.
I actually, by the end of, I believe it was March of this year, I'm looking over, my mom helps me with my booking, so I'm like
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
for confirmation. But I think by March of this year, I had every single Friday and Saturday through December 31st
Oh
completely
well.
booked. So I've still got plenty. I think I probably have, what, 30 or 40, Mama? 45
Okay. Wow.
left for
Wow.
the year.
Okay.
And between that, we're doing like music video shoots and getting in the studio and things like that. So we still have a very busy rest of the year. But we take kind of new bookings as they come. We love
Mm,
playing new areas and new venues and getting to know new people. And we're also still trying to make time to travel to Nashville and do shows in Nashville as
mhm.
well. That's 40 like shows in North Carolina, not
Yeah.
counting like songwriting rounds in Nashville. So we're still pretty busy, but there was a time I think in April we had like 60 shows in
Oh
a
well.
month, and so 45 shows over 3 months is a lot more doable for
Yeah.
us.
Oh yeah.
So we still got quite a lot, but
Yeah.
less.
Oh yeah. You sound like me with my podcasting. There's a time during the pandemic where I was doing about 70 shows a month,
That's
and
crazy.
it's like I remember talking to a buddy of mine, and he's like, did you start smoking during the pandemic? And I'm like, no, why? I've just been doing the podcast. He's like, how many shows are you averaging right now? I'm like, I'm doing about 2.5 to 3 a day. It's like, well, you need to slow down because your voice sounds like garbage, hot garbage right now. So it's
That was
like,
the other thing we realized is that you can't sing for that long. Like
yeah,
that is so much.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
It's crazy.
So outside of music, when you kind of do get 5 minutes to yourself to kind of decompress and whatnot, besides changing car batteries and all that fun stuff, what do you like to do for fun? What do you like to do to kind of decompress?
Quite honestly, I write songs and I listen to music. I am so blessed that my passion in life and my outlet is the thing that I do for a living. Um, and to start that like fresh out of high school is crazy. I'm kind of in that weird limbo period that you're in at 18 where like half your friends are in college
Yep.
and then half your friends are doing something else. And so we're all kind of in a really weird spot. I'm really lucky. I grew up with like a childhood friend group, and I'm really close with my family, and
Yeah.
so I just spend a lot of time with the people that I care about. I've got two dogs that are my pride and joy. They're everything to
Nice.
me. Stevie, my dog. I have my dog and my brother's dog. Stevie's
Mhm.
actually named after Stevie Nicks.
Oh wow.
And then we
Nice.
have Scarlet, who's named after Scarlet Witch, which is my other nerd side, which is my Marvel MCU comic book side.
Nice. Yeah.
And so I spend a lot of time with my dogs and just I like to chill. We
Mhm.
go all the time, and I'm always interacting with people, which I love doing, of course. But on off times, it's nice to just sit on the couch, put on a TV show, and just like hang out with my dogs.
Nice. I'm glad you didn't say you were like a Carolina Panthers fan or something.
Unfortunately, we are
Oh,
we are in the way that you know what to expect.
yeah.
I
Yep.
remember it was last year we were getting ready for a show and he was like, "All right, well, we've got this early morning show, but the Panthers lose at 2 p.m." And I was
Yeah.
like, you just know what to expect, you
Fair.
know.
Well, as a Chicago Bears fan, I'm sorry we set your franchise back about 10 years. So,
It was bound to happen,
right.
honestly. Somebody had
But
to do it.
I remember back in the day when Carolina was actually a pretty decent
You
team.
were great for a while. When I was in
Yeah.
elementary school, we went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It was just downhill from there,
Oh, yeah.
unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
One day we'll
Well,
make a comeback. I'm confident. One day.
I mean, I can't say too much. Chicago Bears have been god awful for a very long time as well. So, yeah.
Our college team, my dad's from Nebraska, so our college
Hmm.
team is the Huskers. And
Yeah.
so it has just been a really killer past couple of years during football season because
Yeah.
there's just no wins, nowhere.
Yeah.
The
For
Huskers
sure.
are doing doing good this year. They're doing better this year at the very least. So
Yeah,
there's at least that to look forward to.
that's
Things
fair.
can turn around.
It's like I can't win. I'm a Chicago White Sox fan, and they're like on the verge of being the worst team in the history of baseball. I'm a Chicago Bears fan, so that's kind of like we've got a little hope there. And then I watch English Premier Football, and my team hasn't scored, like, is
Oh
just
no.
terrible.
Very
So yeah,
discouraging. It's very
it's like
discouraging.
I think I need to just stop watching sports for a little bit. So,
It's
but
not worth it anymore.
right, right.
It's
But
not worth it.
I really appreciate your time. If anybody wants to check out your music, any of that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had so much fun. I'm super easy. It's just at Julia Golden Music everywhere, Golden like the color. And that's TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all the places, juliagoldenmusic.com. Then on Spotify and Apple Music, all the streaming services, I'm just Julia Golden. My debut single is called Cupid. You can stream it.
Mhm.
And yeah, just search Julia Golden, you'll probably find me.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I really appreciate it, Julia. It's been an absolute blast. Anybody listening, if you want to check out Julia's music, her Spotify link is in the description below, and also her website as well. So feel free to check that out. But once again, thank you all so very much for joining us, Julia. Appreciate your time, and we will catch y'all later.
Hi.
Yeah, awesome, cool.